established Rich coming right back at you. There's a difference between being overlooked and being unprepared when your moment comes. And a lot of people don't like having that conversation because it's much easier to point the finger than it is to look in the mirror. And right now, that conversation is happening between Rick Ross and Gunplay. Now, on the surface, this looks like a story about betrayal. A loyal artist who feels like he was left behind when it was his turn. A man who was there during the build-up, during the hunger phase, during the moment when Maybach Music Group was turning into a real force in hip-hop. And according to Gunplay, when the lights got bright and it was time for him to step into his moment, everything got quiet. No budget, no push, no support, just silence. And that kind of silence can feel like disrespect when you feel like you earned more.
But when it was Ross' turn and we was on the road and we was doing everything, and then when everybody was a group effort. When it was Gunplay's turn, it was crickets. You see what I'm saying? So it's like it was hard for me. What you want me to do? Nobody's. It's like I got hit records. Nobody's giving me a budget. Nobody's doing nothing. So what you want me to do?
And hit.
What would you like me? What would you like me to do? Do more? Do more? Give another hit record and do more and never get? Or would you? What you want me to see is go back in these streets and go ahead and tap these pockets,
right?
Like I have to do. You see what I'm saying? Like this is what I did. This is what I didn't want to do.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But since they don't understand and they want to be, okay, we don't know who Gunplay is. Nigga, give me that chain. Let me get all that because I'm back. You see what I'm saying? That was literally a cry for help for real when I look back and see that now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let me get that.
Right.
Let me get that. So
you showing them like I really would do this.
Yeah, push me back in the street. So I mean, what you really want me to do? Like, I'm for everything. I was down for the program for over 10, 15 years.
Definitely
and it's my turn. And then nobody lifted a finger, made a phone call or nothing for the old. You see what I'm saying? So what you want me to do?
That's crazy because you had some killer features. From the outside looking in.
But then when I'm signed to a label like Maybach Music, I'm my hands tied. It's all up on the big dog. And then if he don't want to get me a budget, then he won't get me a budget.
You and Rick Ross aren't close anymore?
I ain't gonna lie, like not really. As of lately, nah. I'm, you know what I mean. But
y'all don't talk at all.
Nah, that's not putting anybody on. A person that has put in the work, and then you tell that person, okay, bring me a hit record, and you bring that person a hit record and nothing gets done, then that's just basically saying F you.
Now when you hear that, you hear the pain, you hear frustration, you hear a man who felt like he was next in line and never got called up, and that feeling is real. A lot of people have been in that position, putting in the work, watching other people elevate, waiting for their turn, and when that turn never comes, it hit different. But here's where the conversation changes, because feelings don't always tell the real story, and in this situation, it's another side that can't be ignored. Because while Gunplay is talking about loyalty, the industry is looking at history, legal issues, personal issues, substance abuse struggles, moments where he looked like everything was moving forward, and then something happened and pulled it back. And that matters because in this business, consistency is currency. The machine around you starts to hesitate, not because they don't believe in you, but because they don't want to make that investment. And that's the part that don't always get said out loud. Everybody want the push. Everybody want the budget. Everybody want the machine behind them, but the machine needs one thing in return: consistency. Can you show up? Can you deliver? Can you stay out the way long enough for the moment to build up? And when that answer is unclear, things start changing behind the scenes. Now, Gunplay also spoke about a business move that raised a lot of eyebrows. He said he sold his publishing for a number that didn't match the value of what he was creating. And that right there is a different kind of pain, because that's not about a missed opportunity. That's about losing ownership of your work. And once that happens, you don't just lose money, you lose leverage, you lose control, you lose your position at the table. But even with all that, the same question still sits there. Who made that decision? Who signed that paper? Who said yes in that moment? Because that's where accountability starts. And this is where a lot of people get uncomfortable. Because it's easy to say I wasn't supported. It's harder to say I wasn't ready. It's easy to say nobody helped me. It's harder to say I wasn't consistent enough to be helped. And in this situation, those two realities are colliding at the same time. One man feels abandoned, the other side looks at him and sees a risk. And when those two things collide, you get exactly what we're seeing right now. A public falling out, where one side is speaking from emotion and the other side is speaking from business. And the truth usually sits somewhere in the middle. But the part that really needs to be said is this. Hip-hop has created a culture where struggle is sometimes worn like a badge of honor, where legal troubles become part of the image, where chaos becomes part of the story. And after a while, people start believing that story. They start thinking everything that happened to them just happened to them. Like they had no control, like they had no choices, like they were just caught up in something bigger than them. And that mentality can destroy a career faster than any label could. Because if you don't take responsibility, you can't fix the problem. And if you can't fix the problem, you end up repeating the same cycle over and over again. That's why this story hit different, because it ain't just about gunplay. It's about a mindset that says, I was done wrong, without ever asking, where did I go wrong? There's a point in every situation like this where the emotion runs out and the reality starts to speak louder. Because after all the interviews, after all the statements, after all the feelings getting put on the table, one question still remains. What actually happened behind the scenes? And that's where Rick Ross finally spoke. Not with anger, not with disrespect, but with a different type of energy. The type of energy of somebody who has already moved on. According to Ross, the issue was not that he turned his back on Gunplay. He said something much simpler than that. He said the distributor dropped him. And instead of breaking his heart with the truth, he told him to keep working, to keep building, to keep pushing. Now, that right there sounds very different than abandonment. That sounds like business. And sometimes business don't come with a long explanation. But in my opinion, Ross could have let him know. That way he may have made some different decisions. But let's check out what Ross had to say.
And not laughing at my little bro's situation, because I got nothing but love for him, but the situation he talking about was saying wasn't no budgets or nothing like that. The distributor had done dropped you. They ain't want nothing to do with you. MMG just ain't give you the bad news. We told you just keep working, just keep grinding. Don't stop, don't quit. Yeah, that's how it goes. When they don't want to spend no money on you, ain't no more budgets. You ain't have a manager or none of that, so they ain't tell you. And I ain't want to break your heart. I want you to keep hustling, nigga. I always say, you know. For young hustlers, I want y'all to just reflect and always remain appreciative of that work that done put in for you. Done put in 20 years of hard working, and when you meet up, y'all start tongue kissing on love and hip hop and throw the 20 years away, you know, when they fall in love and say lawyers and they don't be lawyers and they just, how you feeling now, that's how you feel, yeah. So I know how it go. I feel it, I feel you. Hey, that was tongue kissing that. You mad, ain't it, now? When you reflect and look in the mirror, where I'm at, yeah, ain't no pause buttons on life, man. You can't pause the hustle. Now get back in the streets. Yeah, like you say, get back in the streets and turn up. Let's go get it. And while I got all you in group texts like, cause you know, Rose always get the word.
Now, when you hear that, you start seeing what a disconnect really is. One side is speaking from loyalty, the other side is moving based on performance and stability. And those two things don't always align, because loyalty and music sounds good until money is involved, until deadlines are involved, until millions of dollars are on the line, and then everything changes. Because at that level, this is not a friendship, this is not a brotherhood, this is business. And business has a different language. Business asks questions like, can you show up consistently? Can you deliver without distraction? Can you handle pressure without self-destruction? And if the answers to those questions are uncertain, the machine starts pulling back. Not out of hate, out of protection. And that's the part a lot of people don't like to say out loud because it sounds harsh, but it's real. You can be talented and still be a risk. You can be loyal and still be unreliable. You can have hits and still not be investable. And when that happens, the industry don't always fight for you. It moves away from you, and that don't feel good, but that don't make it wrong. Now, this is where the conversation takes a turn that most people avoid, because this is bigger than just Gunplay and Rick Ross. This is about a pattern that exists in hip-hop, a pattern where struggle gets turned into a story, and then the story turns into an excuse, a pattern where everything that goes wrong gets blamed on somebody else. The label, the system, the industry, the white man, the world, everybody, except the person in the mirror. And that is what people mean when they talk about woe is me rap, where the pain is real, but the accountability is missing, where the story is powerful, but the truth is incomplete. Because yes, the industry can do people wrong. Yes, you can sign a bad deal, but none of that erases personal responsibility. None of that erases decisions. None of that erases choices. And that's where this story feels different, because You watching two realities at the same time. A man who feels like he was left behind and a situation that looks like it was falling apart way before that. Legal trouble, personal instability, moments that break momentum, moments that make people step back. And when you stack all that together, the picture starts looking different. It stops looking like abandonment and starts looking like a missed opportunity. Not because the talent wasn't there, but because the foundation wasn't strong enough to hold it. And that's just the hard truth. Because if you don't understand that, you're going to keep repeating the same story over and over again, blaming different people. Because at the end of the day, the industry can open the door for you, but they can't walk through it for you. The label can invest, but they can't discipline you. The team can support, but they can't live your life for you. If those pieces don't line up, the result is always the same. Missed potential, broken relationships, and a story that sounds like somebody else did it to you, when the real story is much more complicated than that. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Established Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.